How do you cope with all that stress?
I've got a dad who is extremely old school, very traditioned, very smart, very switched on. Within the Lowicks Club, you need to have enough content going up and people interested with things for other people to be wanting to join. And we did create something that got 2,000 people on, but it kept crashing. It was really buggy. Very, very sadly lost 2 friends through them not feeling okay. You should just find something that you enjoy a part of and then focus on that part and then keep going on that line.
What would you say?
They've now asked 3 times. So I really can't say no anymore.
God, we're sitting across someone who was this close to being on Love Island, so you know.
I'm very driven. So anything I try and do, I'll think of a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
Or if you're running a business, you do kind of have to be money driven to make it work.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously basic, but stroking a dog relieves stress. I don't know what it is.
I agree.
Yeah. We did start charging for Lowicks about 2 months ago. That's now bringing in some nice revenue, which is very exciting because for the last 5-6 years, it hasn't brought in a penny.
Wow.
I just thought, I've lost so much money on this. I've lost almost passion for it anymore, and screw it, I'm just going to leave it.
Yeah.
It's not that sort of Wolf of Wall Street suit on. They are a lot more sort of delicate, especially when it was low, when it was going really badly. And I think some of these people will doubt you, and then as soon as it goes well, they're like, oh, it's, you know, someone else will be more persistent than you. They'll work harder than you. And I think if you've got a time in your life to be fitting in bits of work, whatever, just keep going, keep doing it.
Welcome back to the Mindset series. I'm Dr. Veena, and today I'm joined by a very driven and passionate individual. He is on one hand part of the corporate world, on another is a founder of the Lowicks Club, an online private members club. He's an advocate for positive approaches for men's mental health issues, and above all of that, he has such an energy for life that I think all of you will absolutely witness in just having a conversation with him. I'm very pleased to welcome Will Young on The Mindset.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. That's a nice introduction.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Good day today?
It has been. It's been very busy, but got through it, and now we're here. So happy to chat. It's very nice.
Great.
Nice
So, Will,
end to the day.
just to begin with, tell us firstly, what's your role in your corporate job, in your day-to-day job?
Corporate job, probably quite boring. It's a broker that brokes between a client and the insurers, and a client will come along saying, I need this amount of insurance, and I'll go out to the market and get them the insurance for them.
Okay.
So very boring. Not what I would use on a dating platform.
Boring, but important. You need insurance.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Have you been in that field for a long time?
Yeah, so I joined 8 years ago, which seems crazy because I didn't go to university, left school, went straight into it, and sort of worked my way up throughout the years. So 8 years in total now. Wow.
And from there, how did the Lowicks Club come about?
So I guess it came about when I moved to London and I was 18, 19, didn't really know anyone. Everyone went to university, was having fun. And I was like, I want a trusted community of people that I know and can trust. And I just sat there and I was like, well, maybe I just start building a community of people that I know. And then whoever knows 2 people within the community can add and add and add. And it just grew and grew and grew. And now we've got this community of 20,000 people, and it's in a good place.
So initially, when you started inviting people, was that on an online platform or was that just word of mouth?
Yeah, initially it was all word of mouth, and it was kind of on a WhatsApp group. It was very, very basic. And then I took the wrong approach. I thought it was growing really well on the WhatsApp group. So I decided, you know what, I'm 19. I'm going to go out there, get different quotes for different developers. And I got a quote from an Indian company, a Ukrainian company, and a UK-based company. And I think, it was clear that there was huge differences in how much these companies were charging to have an app, an MVP made and created. So I decided to go with the Indian-based company. And sadly, I'm 19. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just giving it a go. And we did create something that got 2,000 people on, but it kept crashing. It was really buggy. So that was like my first big mistake and sort of big financial mistake for all that money that I've been saving up.
Yeah. And then was it easy to come back from that?
And then I think the main thing is from that, I just learned so much. Like I think I just realized, hang on a sec, what am I doing? I'm creating something that I don't even have a proper market for yet. And the problem is within the Lowicks Club, you need to have enough content going up and people interested with things for other people to be wanting to join. You know, there were some days when I launched the app, super excited.
Yeah.
Obviously, first day has bugs, have to go and get it fixed and everything. And, you know, people would sign up and join in and be like, right, okay, what's on offer? We had a WhatsApp that was ticking over loads of things.
Yeah.
What's on offer now? And it was very difficult to persuade people to start posting within it and use it, and it not just become another app on their phone. So I quite quickly realized I was going to have to be calling up a lot of friends, a lot of family to be like, look, can you just put something in there? Like, I literally just need, like, I don't know, a babysitting role, just anything that you just need a trusted person for. And after a while of doing that, it did work. 'Cause people suddenly, you know, if you put something up and then someone goes, oh, I've got that, I can put that up as well. And it did start working, got 2,500 people on. And then I realized that running an app isn't free. It costs a lot of money. When I was doing my 9 to 5, not earning that much money at the age of 19, wasn't making any money from the app, it just felt too much for me at that point. Where, you know, it was maybe 300 quid a month, and I was like, I just can't keep this going. So I rolled that all back and decided to make a sort of Instagram page, which was almost the basic route. Yeah. I had quite a lot of advice from different people saying, well, maybe you should do, you know, a bigger WhatsApp group or an emailing sort of list of people, you know, that you could create an automated email once a day or once a week. But I think for the younger generation, joining an Instagram page is very easy. Yeah. But I made it that you need to know 5 people now within that community, because you had to have 5 mutual followers. And I think actually on Instagram, I feel like people add people now almost a bit like a LinkedIn. If you've met someone, you add them on Instagram. I think we added each other on Instagram the first time we met, and it's almost like a LinkedIn. So if you have 5 people, 5 mutual followers, you're in. And I think over time, that's just built this community of 20,000 people that they all know that everyone else has had to buy in with 5 people that they know and trust. So that's where we're at the moment, which is exciting, really exciting.
So it sounds like trust is kind of like a core pillar of the community. Yeah. So people feel comfortable to put things up there in the marketplace, as per se.
Yeah.
So what kind of things can people find on there?
So yeah, trust. I think this is the thing. When I started, I was like, trust online. There's so many fake profiles. Absolutely. I think 17% of people that post on Facebook Marketplace are scammed. So many fake profiles out there. Even if they are real profile, do you know who that person is? Yeah. Can you trust them? And I think when it comes down to face-to-face interactions, you can kind of read someone's eyes. You can kind of read how they are. But online, it's almost impossible. So I think what I wanted to start to develop was trust through mutual friends and value for money. And I mean, some of the things that we're, you know, a lot of flat shares, people renting out their spare room, a lot of like, oh, last minute, can you, I don't know, look after my dog in London? And I think what we're trying to do is remove the agencies that are in the middle that are charging a huge amount of money on the basis that all they're doing is finding someone that you can trust. You know, I rented out my flat, and it was on the basis that they would sort it out, so that I could trust that person. If anything went wrong, they would step in. What I should have done is gone and used another platform, maybe Lowicks, and found someone. And it, you know, when I rented it out, it wasn't really at that stage. So, I should have used. I probably could now use Lowicks and rent it out through someone that's trusted. And that's the whole point of it. You know, if you're doing something that's personal, and you don't want someone to wreck your flat or,
absolutely. When you
or lose your dog.
When you said renting your home or your dog, there is no way you just give that kind of responsibility.
Or your baby.
To just anybody, absolutely. 2 interesting things, actually. So you said straight at 18, you didn't go to university, you went down this path. Were you well supported in that path?
So
it's not conventional.
Yeah, it's not at all. I've got a dad who is extremely old school, very traditioned, very smart, very switched on. And my sister is very like him. She's very intellectual. She went to York, did English philosophy, smashed it, now at Deloitte, loving life. And I took the slightly different approach where I just looked at it and I was like, I don't want to go and spend 3 years at university studying something that doesn't specifically link up to what I want to do in the future. I did get offers to 3 different unis, good unis. I think one in Bristol, Oxford Brookes, and I think somewhere up north, I think it was Leeds or something, one of them. But they, you know, it was good offers. I could have gone and done a business course at these different ones. There was one in Falmouth that was a entrepreneurial course, and they help you set up a business, which I was like, that's super interesting. But also I thought deep down, do I want to go and spend 3 years of my life being taught stuff. I really struggle being told what to do, which is a bad thing. It is a bad thing. Really struggle to get taught to do. And I also just struggle sitting and watching presentations fly through, when actually, if you want to start a business, you can watch YouTube snippets of how to do it, but it's just going out and learning and trying different things and failing and then trying again. So
so was there any pushback from them?
Huge pushback. Huge pushback. It was really difficult. I had a father that was very angry and obviously very upset, and
Really?
a mother who was sort of trying to convince him that no, it's fine, no, don't get too angry, and obviously I was just like, it's not for me, so I'm not going to do it. And he probably didn't speak to me for a while.
Really?
I went traveling, did a little interrating trip around Europe just to sort of get away and have a bit of a break, and all my friends managed to convince him that it was a good idea, so they obviously do a good job, and then came back and managed to get this pretty junior role in insurance, because it was what I enjoyed in the sense that I was talking to a client, talking to the markets, but I knew deep down it's not what I want to do for life. It's just a good starting point.
Yeah. To have that kind of a mindset at that age, did that come naturally to you, or did you have to dig that out of somewhere?
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think it definitely is a natural. I'm very driven, so anything I try and do, I'll think of a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I probably am very money driven, and I think in business you either doing it as a charity, you're doing something that you're not money driven, you just want to help people.
Yep.
Or if you're running a business, you do kind of have to be money driven to make it work.
Yeah.
Because a lot of businesses fail because people love what they're doing, but they're not actually thinking about their books and how to make money. So yeah, I think it did come naturally, but I think parts of it is looking at other people and going, I want that. How do I get that? And I think sometimes if you're walking around London and you see someone driving a nice car or whatever, there's those things on TikToks and it's TikTok and it's saying, going up to a random person saying, what do you do? And I find those so interesting because I love to know how people made their money, or just were successful. How did they do it?
And he tried to tell us he thought insurance was a boring job because he wants to know how they make their money.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, insurance has it and you can do well in insurance, and it's, but I just think when, even when I look at my parents' friends and family friends and sisters' friends and whatever, and work colleagues, and I look at their sort of connections, and I have realised that, in my opinion, I think you can do unbelievably well compared to those that have worked years and years and years in an insurance company, as opposed to setting your own thing up. And obviously you could fail, but the rewards I think are much larger. So yeah.
That's really interesting. Recently was part of this group where we were discussing the new health care strategy that Rishi Sunak put in place, where there's a lot of plans to have more apprenticeships in place, so people don't have to go to med school for so many years, or could kind of upskill so we don't have to keep outsourcing all of our staff.
Yeah.
It really made a lot of us think, do we really need to spend those many years in education? Of course, for vocational things like dentistry, medicine, you need some clinical years, but what's your view on that? Do you think we need those many years?
Yeah, I'm complete agreement that I don't think you do. I personally think, and my friends will hate me for saying this, but when I visited my friends that did go to university, the first 2 years, they're literally they're having drinks. I went up and visited on my bank holiday, and as soon as you're in a 9 to 5 holidays, and it's not 9 to 5, it's more 8 till 7 or whatever. If you're working hard, holiday is very precious.
Yes.
So I went up on a bank holiday, so obviously not as precious because you're getting them, everyone else is getting them, but still as a precious day. And I went up there and I was like, I need to use this holiday, so let's go out on Sunday.
Yeah.
And the Monday came around and they just all weren't doing anything. And I was literally sat there like, hang on a sec, guys, surely you've got to go and do something. And they're not, these guys are smart guys, they're doing good courses at a good university, but the course just doesn't have enough in it for them. And the first year, I don't think they technically had to pass anything. It was just learning, and they maybe had like 3 lectures a week. And then, so I do think I've missed out on the social side. I think universities bring you a huge social aspect for your life and meeting people and networking. But I personally feel that some of those courses could be condensed into a year,
condensed down.
and some of them actually have no benefit on what you want to do in the future.
Yeah.
You know, I was in insurance for 3 years, and someone then came out of university, and he was the same age as me, and he joined and he started telling me what to do. And my boss walked over to him and was like, just so you know, Will's been in insurance 3 years.
Yeah.
He'll start telling you what to do. Like, in my opinion, I think he did geography, or, you know, it doesn't link up. So I think, but then, as you said, for doctors, for you know.
As in there's the argument that there are transferable skills, because I have friends who've studied medicine but not worked a day as a doctor, and they've gone into consulting and all kinds of different things. So there are transferable skills, of course.
Yeah.
But I think what you're saying has a lot of weight, that I think the education system is going to realign a lot in the next 5 to 10 years, especially when you're opening up doors for people who have different learning needs, or people who might, you know, have ADHD or have dyslexia and just consume information a bit differently.
Well, I guess I've got dyslexia, and that was a big reason why I was like, I need to be hands-on doing stuff, and I'm not very good at reading and writing, and that is not a key part of what I enjoy. But yeah, so I would agree that for certain things it's very worthwhile going, but for others maybe not, and there's different routes. And I think everyone's getting better at offering those other routes. And I think one thing I would say is that there almost needs to be a life skills year to learn, you know, like
taxes,
literally taxes, inflation, you know, where to put your money, all these money, mainly based around money, because I think when you come out of school or university, you're thrown into this pond of information. You're basically reliant on your parents to tell you what to do, and sometimes your parents like won't know, you know, and you're then told to put your money here, whatever, and the banks are telling you to do this and that. There needs to be a sort of course that gets everyone with a basic understanding of what the hell's going on in the world.
I'm telling you, I have never been more stressed than when I have to see my accountant.
Yeah.
Because I have to always take my notebook of terms to understand what he's saying to me. And you're right, if that basic knowledge was given to all of us, it would be very different. And I hope they change that. I don't know if they will, because I know society is built in a way that you don't want everyone to understand too much.
I think this is the scary thing, is they almost don't want people to know about how to run their finances and so on, because they can make so much money on the fact that they don't, which is slightly worrying. But I would really, you know, if someone doesn't know what to do when they're leaving school or whatever, I don't know if there is a course out there, but I would learn about money and how it works, and just life things. And,
just even basics, right? Like taxes, savings, pensions. And if someone's looking to invest, for instance, the different things you could do. I think,
and the risks around some of it, and I think that's so crucial. Sorry, we sort of went on a little deep.
Went on a money tangent. No, absolutely. So, you know, going back to, you said, rightly so, some of your work days could be 8 to 7 or 8 to 8 or even longer. And we've spoken on weekends where you're like, I have a meeting. These are like late evenings. So doing that, running, you know, a platform which is now growing by the day, and, you know, you employ people, there's all this stress. How do you cope with all that stress?
It's very, very difficult. Trying to go home and see my dog every so often. Just very basic things to try and, you know, I think it's ridiculously basic, but stroking a dog relieves stress. I don't know what it is.
I agree.
I don't know what it is. They do mysteries, but and no, in all seriousness, I think for me, it's very, very basic, but sport activities and gym. Like, I think keeping healthy and trying to keep active, you know, I will, even if I've worked till 12 o'clock, I'll wake up at 6 and go to the gym, because I'm just like, I know that it puts me in a good mindset. It keeps me happy. Even if it's half an hour, I'll just do it. And I've started doing a lot more sport with friends and whatever, so it's kind of social and active. So that's a big stress relief. And also, I think I've almost learnt to enjoy watching a movie more, for example. You know, I've worked super hard, and then I won't look at my phone for an hour and a half. You know, when you go to a cinema, you don't look at your phone and you enjoy the movie. Well, maybe not Oppenheimer.
Questionable.
Some movies, maybe not.
Oppenheimer.
But,
had to have Wikipedia open.
I did actually need notes on Oppenheimer to what the hell's going on. But yeah, I do think, I think being able to switch off then helps with stress. And I think I've learned that, you know, maybe when I was 19, 18, whatever, I'd be watching a movie but scrolling on TikTok and trying to do loads of things. But actually, if you're doing one thing, just focus on relaxing and watching a movie, and almost don't worry that there's loads of other things to do, because you can do them afterwards, and you'll be better at doing them afterwards because you'll be properly focused on it. When it comes to relaxing, I don't relax that much. The problem is when I go on holiday or something, I'm always trying to get something done. But
they say that, isn't it? Like, I found you, like, it's not 9 to 5, it's like 24/7 or more. But actually that's actually quite honest from what you're saying. Like, that's how you try and balance things, right? Was there ever a point where you felt overworked or burnt out to the point where you couldn't relax?
Yeah, I think there were points where, at the moment, as we've spoken about, I've got 9 to 5, which is 8 till 7. I've got Lowicks, and we're trying to get investment. We've got an app developer. We're speaking to app developers. We're speaking to branding. Loads of things going on. I've got this other idea that I've kind of got on the burner, and then at work I've got this other project that might not be linked to work, so I might be able to set it up separately. And my brain, I like having loads of things, but at some points I'm like, whoa, like, my mates start getting annoyed that they haven't seen me for 3 weeks, and I'm like, has it been 3 weeks? Because if you start working on the weekends just blur and merge.
Absolutely.
I have definitely been burnt out, and I think you've then got to realize when you are, and just actually take a step back. My friend has a startup, and when I met up with him, I could tell, he was not in a good place. And I was like, we are literally going on holiday. Like, you can tell he employs maybe 8-10 people. It's a decent size. And I literally I knew the guy that he worked with, and I messaged him saying, I'm taking him on holiday because he needs a break. Wow. And of course, 2 days, what is 2 days,
I think everyone needs a friend like you. Just show up and just be like, where's your passport? We're leaving. I
had to help my friend. Like, he just did not look in a good place. So,
really nice,
I think certain times you've got to realise when you're done, because you've put so much work in, and those times do come about. I don't know how the likes of Elon Musk or whatever carry on. They must be having some insane drug potion that's going on to keep them going, but they seem to never holiday and work. But yeah.
Or what, from what they put out anyway, we don't know what actually happens.
You're right, actually. They do. Yeah, a lot of these people on podcasts or whatever, they put out saying they wake up at 4:30 and they do. I don't know how much.
I watched a TikTok the other day where it was a young girl working in, I think, investment banking in America, and she said she went to bed at 1:30, woke up at 3 a.m. to get into the office early and do 2 runs in the day, and all the comments are like cap.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't know how. I mean, you would die if you after so. I mean, you're the doctor. I don't know, but after a couple of.
Well, if we want to talk medicine, it definitely increases your mortality not having a good sleep pattern. But even during stressful periods in med school, during exams, yes, there are times we've done crazy things, the odd 24-hour stretch or something, the odd one, not a routine.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't recommend that. So I don't know.
I think that's the other thing is I do think, like, for me, I like sleep. I really do need my sleep. And I am very conscious that, I need to get at least 7-8 hours, or otherwise I will not be in a good, form the next day. But then, I'll try and fit that in different places. And if I'm traveling, it's very difficult. I can't sleep on planes. It's impossible for work. And then it is difficult because I'll travel for work, but then have to come back and work on Lowicks or whatever else I'm working on. I haven't slept on the flight, and that is difficult. But yeah, I think sleep's so important.
Yeah. In this conversation, what's really refreshing is how open you are about the difficulties and the challenges, because I think society, on one hand, puts this pressure on not just founders, on anyone in a role of responsibility and leadership. You have to be strong. You have to have this kind of facade that you're not, you're not weak, you're not struggling. And I think we touched upon this when we first met about how men particularly have this external pressure. Do you find that as just specifically in male-dominated roles or environments?
Yeah, I think, loads. I think the thing is, when I walk around the city, I sort of dress quite casually, to be fair, for my job, and I probably should suit up a little bit more often. But I think that's because after 8 years, I'm like, well, whatever. Like, if a client's not here,
actually, I'm showing up. You're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. I could be working from home right now, like everyone else is. But yeah, I think when I'm walking around, all the people I work with are in suits. They're all dressed up, even women. Everyone's dressed up to be very formal and so on. It's putting on that facade that you are in a very good state, sort of financially and mentally and everything. And actually, when I've spoken to a lot of the men that work in insurance, they are they're, you know, after a couple of drinks, this is quite often the case, they do start opening up about how they are actually feeling. And a lot of the time it's not that sort of Wolf of Wall Street suit on. They are a lot more sort of delicate. And,
Yeah.
I mean, and as much as men can be delicate, you know, I think
Yeah.
I think it is, you know, I think we were talking about that bath story, and I was sort of asking, after quite a few drinks, I don't know how it came into conversation, was sort of asking and joking about how many people actually had baths, and all the guys started saying that actually, yeah, I have a bath, like maybe once a week as a bit of a treat. And we were sort of like, do you have a candle? Do you use a candle? Yeah, I use a candle. Everyone's sort of subtly trying to quietly say, yeah, I kind of enjoy it. But I don't think it should be like a guilty pleasure. It should just be like, well, if you enjoy it and it's relaxing and mentally it helps you, then why not? And why not talk about it? You know, if everyone's kind of similar, then
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's that pressure of traditional gender roles
Yeah.
and what's seen as normal. And, you know, even as a doctor, when patients come and see me, especially the male patients who are struggling, they might open with, this is not normal for me. I don't normally do this, and this is not expected of me, but I'm struggling. Or, you know, they open with as if they have to justify why they're feeling what they're feeling. And I just think, yeah, if the more we speak about it, maybe it will start a dialogue, and hopefully people feel more comfortable voicing this.
Yeah, I agree. I think you shouldn't almost have to apologize
No.
for why you're feeling a certain way. You
Yeah.
should just talk about it. I definitely feel like I've probably in loads of situations, dating or whatever, I've probably been way too open and honest and with how I'm feeling. But I do think it's the best way to be. You know, I've very, very sadly lost 2 friends through them not feeling okay.
Oh.
So, you know, the fact that they've had to bottle it up and go through that and not speak about it, I think that's super upsetting. So I'm more of the, you know, the point of view that if a friend's feeling down, a bit like that friend that, you know, works really hard and has his own business, works himself out, whatever, let's go on holiday. Like it's not worth your health. Just let's go and have some fun. So I think it is really important, I think, to be open with how you're feeling. I don't think there should be any stigma around it.
Yeah, I think that's quite valuable. And I hope anyone listening today, if you are struggling, we again just want to encourage you to find a friend. They might not take you on holiday, but I'm sure they can lend you some ears or a shoulder to listen.
Yeah.
Or like you said, find a dog to pet.
Yeah, well, find a dog. That does help.
You know, it would be interesting to ask you, if there was a young person today trying to make that decision, not just about university, but about being confused about where to start their career, they want to, you know, work, say maybe even insurance.
Yeah.
What should their guideline be to where to begin or where to look for that inspiration if they have no one in their family or no one they know to seek advice from?
Yeah, and it's really difficult. Like it is really, really difficult. When I left school, I had absolutely no idea, and I went knocking on a couple of people's doors and sort of friends and whatever, and even just going on LinkedIn and just started messaging random people for different industries of things I had no idea about. And I did actually just use social media and YouTube and just started watching videos on all these different things. Did a couple of work experience and found out what I enjoyed. So, obviously I think the problem is when you're going into work, you expect to do something that you enjoy all aspects of it. And I think to start off with, if you're not going to go to university, you should just find something that you enjoy a part of and then focus on that part and then keep going on that line. Or somewhere that's at least going to commit a certain amount of training to you, because, you know, sadly, when I stayed at my first company for 4 and a bit years, they were very bad at investing in me. There were certain parts that I was picking up and thinking this is really worthwhile, but they weren't good enough. And I think maybe when you're 18, 19, 20, it's very easy for companies to sort of go, well, they're not going to push back and they're not going to ask for more training, whatever. But a lot of companies have a dedicated amount to commit to training up their employees if there's different courses or whatever. I wanted to do a public speaking one. I have a huge issue that happy speaking one-on-one, happy speaking in a sort of social environment or whatever, but in a boardroom or, you know, it's a presentation, bright red.
Really?
You know, if they're going around the table going, who are you, what you do, what you, gets to me, forget my name, forget what I do, like bright red. So, but, you know, some of these places that you work at, they will pay for courses to do it. So I think when you're that age and you haven't gone to university, you should be pushing your employer. You're probably not getting paid that much. You know, the employer's probably making the absolute most of the amount that they're paying you, and you're probably doing way more work than you should be. So if you're not getting money out of them, I think you should be getting sort of some type of educational
Yeah, that's a
means
really
out
good
of
point,
them.
actually.
So-
Yeah. And because you said you've worked with different organizations and they invested in you differently depending on what role you were in or what you were doing there, do you feel there was support given for any, say, psychological stresses or mental health problems or concerns you may have had?
Yeah, I mean, in my first employer, I don't think was particularly good at it, but I actually think it's because they were going through a phase of being bought or whatever, so they just didn't have the time and almost care for employees, which is very bad. My second employer was very, very big, 70 odd thousand employees, and they did their best. They always offer all these things, but are they actually does it have any meaning
What were
behind
the
it? Or
things? I'm intrigued.
you could call a helpline if you were feeling down. You can do all these different, yoga classes but internal, and it almost felt a little bit fake because they put them out there on the table for you to take, but then no one really did it because you almost wouldn't want to be seen using it.
But they'll be in the office.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Well, this is the thing, and I actually called the helpline once, and it was because in lockdown I was on my own. I felt really bad. Went down. I was like, you know what? It's free. I actually think everyone should have a therapist. I'd love to have a therapist. I just think they're so expensive. We almost need to find a way of making a cheaper therapist for people. But I call this helpline. I felt a little bit weird doing it because mentally I would say I'm quite strong and I'm active. I'm social. I go out and do all these sort of things. And this lady on the end of the phone was literally like, so, do you play sport? Or, maybe you should think about going and play sport. And she was speaking to me as if I was a kid. And I was like, this is not what I need. And it's patronising. And I never called it again. Whereas my new employer, I think they actually really do care. It's a slightly smaller company. And they do very regular checkups as to how you're feeling and so on. So, yeah, it's very difficult for companies. But I think there's a lot of ways they can try and help. And I think a lot don't do enough.
Yeah. Do you do anything for your employees?
Well, I try and speak to my employees as much as possible.
Wow.
Like one-on-one, I'll try and have a call, just checking everything's fine, checking if they have any questions, whatever. At the moment, I wouldn't say I'm the size yet to be able to offer all these different things. There's a great company that do work with HR teams, and they then provide. And it was an idea that I had, and then I found out about it because I was doing some research. And they provide you with benefits to actual meaningful stuff. So, you might get a discount on a cleaner or something because actually that would really help.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, so, or you might get a free, link up with like Battersea dog homes and they do, take a dog for a walk or whatever. Yeah. So it was all these things that actually mean something to you, a proper gym membership discount or whatever. Whereas, and that, in my opinion, I think that's the route I would want to go down. And you get a certain amount of tokens and you get the option of what you want to spend that on to help you mentally and whatever. But I think a lot of big corporates just tick boxes and we do it. But
I think giving that autonomy in your hands to decide, I think that you're absolutely right. That might be really good actually, and having the options. That's exciting. Well, I hope you get to that stage.
Yeah,
well,
same.
All of that.
I mean, at the moment there's 4 of us, but I think if it got to a stage where there was like 30, then that would be amazing. It's really small things. If I had ever had an office, the office that I'm in at the moment, and it's such a small thing, but they always offer, snacks and all these little things for free, drinks for free. They'll offer magazines for free, and you can pick. They obviously have deals with all these brands, but it's such a small thing.
It's not a small thing. I'll tell you why. Because as a junior doctor, when we'd work on the wards, we didn't have our own milk to make tea, right? So we'd have to take it from the patient's trolley, and then you'd get looked at weird, you'd get judged. There'd be fights over this in the staff room, and we were just like, I don't think this should be that hard to get a cup of tea on a 12-hour shift.
That is I think that's so dreadful, and especially nowadays when they're wanting. Well, I know it's slightly different for the job that you do, but nowadays when everyone expects. I think the younger generation expect that they can just work from home, and corporate companies corporates are trying to get people into the offices. I just think it is relatively cheap for these corporate businesses to be making, a nice coffee machine for people to make coffee, and it's the small things like that add up that then make you feel a little bit better for going into the office and working.
Yeah,
so.
There were studies done. I think one of the top reasons why people retain in a job is feeling valued.
Yeah.
and then environment, and then money, and all of the rest of it, and comes in team members as well. But feeling valued was like on top.
Yeah.
Like, they would give their best and they'd want to stay, and loyalty builds from that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, we try and do little team building exercises once a month or once a quarter.
Nice.
And axe throwing or so, something just to keep the team together and bonded. Or we'll go out for a prep lunch together, like literally just as basic as that. We'll go out for a nice little lunch together, and it's definitely about how you feel at work is a huge part of it. Obviously, money comes into play and everything, but I think when you feel comfortable somewhere, then that is a big part.
And what you said, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's basic things, but these basic things are the core of humanity.
Yeah.
That social connection, that feeling valued, and that's what makes you give your best in what you do.
Yeah. I mean, again, another very simple example is in the office that I'm in now. I love cricket. I'm a big cricket fan.
Yeah, I love cricket.
And they have cricket up on the screens. They have sport. They have the Women's World Cup this morning. They have these things up on the screen because they know that people are going to want to be watching it. If you were working from home, you'd probably be watching it. Whereas my last place that I was working, absolutely not. You wouldn't be getting that. Again, the milk would always be, there wasn't any milk. You had to bring in all sorts of different, there was instant coffee.
Yeah.
It is the small things that add up.
Things.
And, a TV in the room, which you got in the side glance is quite nice to have.
But were you able to focus with the cricket on?
Yeah, not towards the end. I have to admit.
When
it gets really tight, I'm like, no, okay, I need to just go watch cricket for a bit.
As you were talking, what came to my mind is when, if someone has like a physical ailment, like a broken skin or like a really bad septic wound, say, you wouldn't keep picking at it, or you would allow it to heal, or you tell someone, I can't use this hand. You would take time to kind of recover.
Yeah.
But we don't normalize that with when you're having a bad mental health day, right? So when you said, I wish everyone could have a therapist. The same way everyone has a GP or everyone has a dentist. Because it's not that we go through tough periods, but maybe you just need regular check-ins.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I'm bad, but I went and saw my dentist and they were like, 8 months' time, we'll book you in. And I was like, no, I'll leave it. Like, it'll be fine. And that was, it was quite expensive and whatever. And I just postpone it, but then I won't book it in again. So actually I should have just said, yeah, fine, and we'll leave it in. But I do think, and I don't know how we can do it, and the NHS probably won't get to a stage.
No, it won't be the NHS.
Yeah, it won't be the
something
NHS.
That we create.
But we need to find some way of, I've tried these online app ones, and
I've tried them.
You need to speak to someone.
Yeah, and I've tried the ones where you find a speaker online, but then you never always get the same speaker, and it's again feels a bit patronizing and very. It's almost like I can hear them going through a tick list in front of them, and I'm like, this doesn't feel very human.
They're almost practicing on you, and you're like, hang on a second, I thought you were really good at your job. So,
as I'm sure some of them are very good in experience, but in my experience, that's what I've had.
Yeah, and I've had some bad experience. I've had some bad experience. Maybe because I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I think mentally I am strong, and I've got this person asking me different things. I'm like, why? You shouldn't be asking me this. Like, you should know about this. And I guess it is about building bonds with these people to open up with them. But I do think a regular check-in, even if it's with maybe friends or family, and you've got one friend. I've got, my best friend. I can literally tell him anything, absolutely anything. And I'm very lucky to be in this stage with him. It wouldn't affect any of our anything about our relationship, but it does mean that I can fully open up to him. And I think if you have that one person you can fully open up to and almost book in a drink every half year, whatever, just to let everything out a little bit, I think maybe it's worthwhile.
Schedule those times in, absolutely. Yeah. Going back to your journey, tell us, what's next for the Lowicks Club?
What's next is that I've been working on developing another app, learned a lot from the first time, and doing it properly this time. And we've got a bit of investment. We're going out and getting some investment. We did start charging for Lowicks about 2 months ago. That's now bringing in some nice revenue, which is very exciting because for the last 5-6 years it hasn't brought in a penny.
Wow.
And now we're starting charging. And the first day when I started charging, I was like, are people actually going to pay for this? Like, I don't know. Like, people, we've been doing it for this long. People love it, but I don't actually know if anyone's going to pay for it. People are super happy to pay for it. It's very good value for money, and everyone liked the community. So we're now building this app. We've got some great developers on board, and we're going to launch the app. And we've got a couple of different things that we want to bring to the app, a bit different, maybe events, a couple of things I probably can't talk about right now. But yeah, it will mainly be pushing this app that we want to grow to a very good size. There's a competitor in France that has got 1.6 million users. And I think if we could get it to that size where everyone is still really trusted in that community, then that'd be amazing. Very exciting.
That's actually really exciting.
Yeah, it is. I'm quite excited by it. I've just got to keep the 9 to 5 on the side at the moment. It almost feels like the 9 to 5 is my side job.
But that just shows where your passion is, and I'm sure you do great at your day job as well. So yeah, I can totally relate to that because I do similar things. So yeah, definitely. You talked about going to different developers right at the start of the interview and how there were all these setbacks, and I wouldn't call failures, but say like hiccups in the road. Was it hard to get out of that point, or did you develop this resilience?
Yeah, I think, I mean, when I did Lowicks on my own for 4 and a bit years. Okay. And I had to get someone else on board to help, because I did do it through a stage where when the app failed, I just thought, I've lost so much money on this. I've lost almost passion for it anymore, and screw it, I'm just going to leave it. Yeah. But then actually someone approached me and said, look, I love what you're doing. I think it's great. Little did they know that in my head, I was like, this is completely gone and there's nothing left of this company anymore. They approached me thinking it was great. Yeah. So I got them on board and they helped. So I think, I definitely learned the fact that when something's low and you're not feeling great, the good thing is now that I've started making money and it's the good side of things, those feel so much higher and better now that I've had those lows. So I think you have to have the lows to realize certain things and learn from them. But if you keep pushing, I think you will get through to a stage where you'll have the highs. And when you do have the highs, they feel amazing. Like, when I got my first £35 paid by someone through Stripe, I was like, oh my God, I've literally, like, someone's actually sent me £35. Like, oh, that's insane. So I was very excited. And, I think I even went out for dinner, which was like, way more than 35 quid. It was more the excitement and sense of achievement, which I think is very important to have. And I think you've got to celebrate those small wins.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, I asked that specifically because in this last week, I've had a lot of conversations where people who may not be from this world are very risk averse. Yeah. And they're very worried about, what if that fails? What will people say? What will I do? All of these what ifs. But I couldn't have put it better myself. When the lows are that low, the highs feel amazing.
They do.
And you just have to kind of keep pushing through, isn't it?
Yeah. And I also think those people questioning you, maybe slightly jealous. Like I find there's a very different way of people wanting to live their lives and so on. But I've always wanted to have my own thing, and I know that I've got to have a proper job to fund my life and pay for rent and whatever. But I've always wanted my own thing, so having a side hustle is what you have to do. And then it gets to that point, which I'm probably quite close to, of going, right, sorry, job, I'm going to properly go at this. And I just think sometimes I've had a lot of people saying, Will, what the hell are you doing? Especially when it was low, when it was going really badly and sort of my morale was very low. It's very easy for me to go, yeah, what the hell am I doing? it's you go, hang on a sec. But I think if you're determined enough, you just keep pushing through it.
Yeah. And you know what I've learned, Will? It's never anyone who's doing more than you who would ever question you. And when I look back at my life about anyone who questioned me or challenged what I'm doing, it's always been people who are not, maybe cannot see themselves doing it or are not doing a quarter of any of that. Yeah. But anyone who's doing 10 times more than me, they would never say those things. Actually, their questions will be very different. How are you planning to get to A to B? How are you planning to fundraise? What are your numbers looking like? And I'm just like, oh my God, I have so much work to do. I feel energized with those conversations. So you're right. I think there's an element of everyone chooses to live their life differently, and you shouldn't really let that kind of sink in, isn't it? Those questions into your mindset.
You're so right in saying that, because the people that I've very luckily been able to speak to through doing Lowicks and just networking and whatever, some of these people are so successful. They don't need to look down on me. They've become so successful that they're actually then so invested in knowing how you're doing. Yeah. They want updates. They want to question you as to maybe questioning your reasoning behind things, but never questioning like why
exactly.
why are you even giving it a go. So it is very interesting, because then I've got some friends that I used to be quite a big boy at school and a little bit bullied at school, and you've got these guys that thought they were the biggest and the best at school. And then now, you know, they're messaging being like, "Oh, hi, mate." You know, I'm like, you're not mates. You were a bully at school, but fine. And you know, it's those kind of people that go, you know, they do think it's great, but then also some of them start saying, "Well, why are you doing this? Like, what, you know, what benefit does that have?" Or and it's questioning it in a slightly different way, as in, why are you even putting that effort in, kind of thing. And I don't like that, because it's not.
Well, when I was planning to launch the mindset, I
Yeah.
had someone literally say to me, "You're doing too many things. You need to focus on one thing. You're doing too many things." And I remember looking at this person thinking, "Well, what's it to you?"
Yeah.
That same person, after the second episode, messaged me to be like, "Oh, it's actually looking really good." So like, and I was like, "How interesting."
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think some of these people will doubt you, and then as soon as it goes well, they're like, "Oh, it's, you know."
Yeah, but I would say the ones that do challenge you in a positive way, or the ones that make you feel a bit uncomfortable, that, okay, actually I need to step up my game, I think we should hold on tight to those people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, the mate that I was mentioning that I took him on holiday and treated him, I love him to bits, and I will question what he's doing,
Yeah.
because, and I mean it in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But if he says to me, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing this and that," or he shows me a new proposal or deck or whatever, I'll go, "I'm not sure about that," you know. And even, actually, to be honest, I'm quite honest in every life situation. If
Yeah.
he says, "What do you think, like, of what I'm wearing," or whatever, I'll be honest, because I think honesty is so key. I think nowadays we lose a girl best mate of mine. She kind of love-hate in relationship, because she'll always ask me, you know, "How do I look?" And I will be mega honest. You know, I'm not hiding anything. And I will often say, "No, that does not look good on you."
Okay.
But then when I say it looks good on you, she's like, "Okay,
Yeah,
it does
'cause you
actually look
believe
good."
it. Yeah.
So I think honesty is so important.
This is useful to know if anyone has outfits they want approved.
Send it my way. Maybe that's a new idea. Create an app with Will's advice, my honest advice.
Oh my God. No, that's really useful. Well, that was actually really insightful. Thank you so much for such an engaging conversation.
No worries.
You can relax now. We're going to move on to our next segment, which is the rapid fire.
Okay.
Quick questions, no thinking much, straight things that come to your mind. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Your favorite online resource to rent a space?
Oof. Lowicks.
I was going to say that again. Is your glass half empty or half full?
It's definitely half full at the moment. Yeah. Yeah. Always got to think positively.
Yeah. The last online purchased item?
It was a piece of clothing that I then returned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was far too big.
Okay. Your favorite online organizational tool?
I mean, it could even. I don't know if WhatsApp's allowed for this response, because I mean, I use WhatsApp for, I mean, life organization,
Okay.
if that could fall under
Like
it.
in WhatsApp groups?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's mainly how I run and organize everything that I do, is having different groups for everything. So
One message to anyone struggling to speak up about their mental health?
I would probably try and find someone that I mean, it is extremely difficult, but I find someone that you're most comfortable with, and just almost say a little bit how you're feeling, and then see what their response is. And then if their response is quite positive towards how you've spoken about it, then maybe give a bit more, and you might be able to fully open up with them.
Nice. Your favorite TV show?
Oh God, that's very, very difficult. I do like Black Mirror.
That is good.
Yeah.
Some of the episodes are quite good. Your go-to cheat meal?
It's probably I mean, I'm a big foodie. It's probably like a katsu curry or something,
Okay.
if that falls within a.
Yeah,
you know.
it does. Worst gift someone's ever given you?
These aren't very quick fire, are they? I mean, to be honest, it probably is, you know, actually, no, I can't even say a pair of socks, because a new pair of socks is brilliant.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad gift.
No.
I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can respond to that.
That's a good answer.
I've had good gifts.
You've liked all the gifts.
Yeah.
That is good. The best advice someone has given you?
Probably just keep going. Like I mean, I am very determined. I think certain people that I know do keep going, but then there's a point where you do have to realize to stop, but which I do agree with. But I think you've just got to be persistent with things, or otherwise someone else will be more persistent than you. They'll work harder than you. And I think if you've got a time in your life to be fitting in bits of work, whatever, just keep going, keep doing it. So yeah,
Nice. If Love Island came back to you and said, "Please come back on the show," what would you say?
They've now asked 3 times. So I really can't say no anymore.
Guys, we're
I can't say
sitting
yeah.
across someone who was this close to being on Love Island, so you know.
My company I now work for have said I actually might be able to go on, but I have to get a tattoo of their name. So or budgie smugglers with their sponsorship on. So yeah, I just
Amazing.
don't think I could do it now.
No, but oh, that was it. That was cool. That was
Great.
really fun. Last part of it, we have these pearls I was telling you about.
Okay.
You pick one, and depending on the topic, you give us your pearl of wisdom on that topic.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. Oh. Founder.
Ooh, your pearl of wisdom on being a founder.
How much would you like? Just a
Couple of lines.
yeah.
It's true. It's not one that you can just.
Yeah, it's really not.
It's
There's,
not.
I think, well, persistence, as I said earlier, just keep going and almost don't listen to too many people. I think that's the main thing I've learned over time, that you do have to listen to people. But if you listen to too many people, someone said about Lowicks' name not sounding right, and I really was close to changing it. They said, Lowicks doesn't say what it is. And I was like, yeah, you're so right. Yeah, I mean, that's maybe a really bad idea. But then hang on a sec. So many companies have names that say
Apple.
nothing about what they do. So, and he's quite a senior guy. Like he's a good in what he does. So I just think maybe listening to too many people might not benefit you. Maybe that's the pearl of wisdom.
That is actually really, really good. Thank you. It's so apt. You picked like a really apt one. There were lots of other random ones in there. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Before we close, do you want to tell our listeners where they could maybe find you, or if anyone had any questions?
Yeah, it's probably best Will with an S .young on Instagram. That's probably the best place. I can reply to DMs there.
Yeah.
I'm not on Twitter or whatever they call it now.
Yeah, that really confused me.
Yeah.
Because it looks like the Barry's app, and I was like, I just want to book a class. This is so confusing.
You're really right. So yeah, probably Instagram with Will with an S .young.
Okay, great. And just before we close, I ask my guests if there's any one question you want to ask me. You don't have to, but if there is anything.
I mean, it's probably how do you do your job? I just don't know how you manage it. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, how do you do your job and do everything else you do? Because I do mine, but my day-to-day job is so different to yours, and I think my stresses are so different to yours. How do you manage with the day-to-day stresses of dealing with individuals who are going through health issues?
That's a good one. There is a level of compartmentalization where you leave work and you try leave it there, but the human part of you can't leave some stories at work. You do go home and think about it. You do stay up at night sometimes. You go back in the next day and check in on that patient. Did they get discharged? Are they okay? But I pray that I never lose that, because the day I do, the job loses that humanity part of things.
Sure.
But to answer about the stress, I think because I do a lot of things outside of work, I can bring a different energy to work. I think if I just did medicine, I think I'd burn out, or I'd lose a lot of who I am as a person, because it is very draining.
Yeah.
And it can continue, if I'm honest.
Well, that's what I was. If I've got some issue at work, I can go home and be like, well, he'll be fine. Whoever it was I was dealing with, they're not going to have any health issue. It's just a financial thing. So that's the main thing that I'm amazed with what you guys do, because I would struggle with that.
Yeah, as in they train you, but then you learn so much on the job. I'm sure as with most jobs, right? To give you one quick example, I was a newly qualified GP, and one part of our job is looking at lab results.
Right.
So it's like 6:30 in the evening, going to the labs that have just freshly come in, and someone's hemoglobin was 66, right? It's quite low. So anyone with a hemoglobin less than 70 requires blood transfusion. This is an elderly person, late 60s, and it's just come in. I was like, this is not something I can send a text message about. I'm trying to call them, no answer on the mobile, no answer on the landline, trying to see which other relatives are there, can't get hold of anyone. And all you're thinking is this person on the street? Are they out? Where are they? Do you call the ambulance? What do you do? So that was stressful. Then I had to get the managers involved, and we were like, we need to find this person. And we couldn't find them for a few days, and turns out they were unconscious somewhere, but then we got them the help. But the point is, for those 72 hours every day, we were trying to locate this one patient, and that was one inbox message. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because labs like, oh, alert, just action it. And it's not like in hospital medicine where there's a team working together. As a GP, you're like it's all on you. And you opened it, so it's like I can't go home with. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's the thing.
yeah, but that's not every day. But
No, but I can open a message from a client and go, that can wait tomorrow.
yeah,
Like, that can easily wait. You just can't, like,
no,
for
some things
someone's
you
life,
can't.
then
Some,
it's
yeah,
it must be so difficult. So
yeah, but it's rewarding.
yeah.
But yeah, I hope that helped. But thank you so much, guys, for listening in. I'll leave some contacts here below where you can write in about what you thought about this episode, any comments you had, any questions you had. Well, this was a very interesting and a very different conversation to the ones we've had so far. So thank you so much for your time. We've learned a lot, actually.
No worries. It's been
Thank
great.
you. Woo!